Hey guys, I'm Kevin Villeneuve from Blipmatch, and today I'm going to be reviewing Netherwatch, a horror investigation board game from Mariucci J Designs. Now, if you don't know who they are the developers behind the successful Explore It series, and this is actually their first title outside of that universe, so it's pretty interesting. Netherwatch was successfully crowdfunded in November 2025, and they are currently still accepting late pledges, so if you're interested, I'm going to put the link down in the description. And before we move on to the review, I'm just going to note that this is a prototype copy that was sent to me, so everything you see in this video is not the final design and will likely change before the game is in its final production run. Also, this is not a sponsored video. I'm just doing this review because I love the Explore It series. You can in fact see the whole series behind me here. And I was interested in this game mostly because it's something that I have actually been searching for. I've always been attracted to horror stories, not the Chainsaw Massacre one, so I should define that as paranormal stories. But I really like them and I find they just leave me a little bit creeped out. And this is something that I've really been wanting to find in a game where it gives me that creepy feeling. So Netherwatch is a 1 to 4 player paranormal investigation game that blends investigation, deduction, and puzzles with a healthy dose of unlock your door before the monster gets you fun. At first, the modern horror theme didn't grab my attention since I generally prefer a theme that's either fantasy or touches on periods of time when technology wasn't present. But as I looked into it further, I was intrigued by how they used real-world ancient folklore and the investigations being part of a centuries-old demon hunting organization named, you guessed it, Netherwatch. As you would expect from the designers behind the Explore It series, the game actually has a decent amount of lore, and they've gone as far as giving Netherwatch a real organizational structure with agent ranks and departments that actually sort of work with a legacy system that they have in the game. While the theme is absolutely modern with an HQ van serving as home base, you get items like smartphones and Wraith Rush energy drinks, but somehow the scenarios still feel very 19th century. It gives the effect that the hauntings almost anchor at a stagnant dark energy that froze the locations in time. And if you enjoy watching videos of people exploring abandoned asylums and stuff like that, this game is right up your alley. When I first got the prototype to the table, and by the way, a huge thanks to Jonathan and the team for getting that over to me, the unique instructions on the back of each scenario card made it really easy to set up the modular board and add all the tokens to it. So after playing a few times getting familiar with the components, I can honestly easily do a setup or takedown in about 10 to 15 minutes, which is a huge time saver on game nights, especially with people that haven't played before or have a low tolerance for setup time. One thing that really stands out with Netherwatch's design is that it has a massive amount of variety and replayability, which I love. So far, there's 6 different scenarios that are available in the base game, and each has its own board layout, and the scenario type determines how difficult the objectives are. So a green recon scenario is fairly straightforward, while the yellow containment scenarios and the red extermination scenarios have a more complex objective. So sometimes it's even multiple objectives, and these special events in the scenario trigger all kinds of things that get thrown into the mix, and they really mess with how you play out your strategy. Now, the base game takes place on a board called the Mansion, and it's composed of 2 floors, an attic, and a creepy basement. Now, you'll always have all 4 boards when you're playing the Mansion, but whether you have side A or B is determined by the scenario, and it really gives you a unique feel when you're playing. There's also an independent game difficulty setting, which is completely different from the scenario difficulty, and that also follows the same color scheme where you have Initiate, green, being more forgiving to new players, Operative, yellow, keeping you on the edge at all times, and then Veteran, which is red, forcing you to basically cower in hiding spots, knowing that each turn could be your last. Mix in the 12 possible demon haunts, each with their unique boss battle mechanics, and you're highly unlikely to see 2 play sessions unfold in the same exact manner, and that's what I love about it. A game of Netherwatch unfolds in 2 distinct phases. You start off in the investigation phase, where you're searching for clues, solving puzzles, gathering gear, and ultimately trying to figure out which demon is haunting the location. Events will unfold through drawing events at the end of each player's turn, and these may help or hinder you depending on the current state of the board. Even though you won't know the identity of the demon initially, you'll have shuffled some of its unique event cards into the event deck, so its traits will actually influence gameplay. If you pay close attention, you might actually be able to see some patterns in the events that will help you with revealing the demon's true identity later on. When you start the game, you'll have a relative sense of safety, but the threat of the demon haunts your every movement, and careless decisions could lead to the early death of one or more characters. If you lose a character, you also lose its unique ability, and that can end up being really bad. Each character actually has two abilities. They have a passive ability that's always in play, and an ultimate ability that can only be used once per game, although there are items, well, at least one item that I've seen, and certain event cards that may allow you to recharge that ultimate. These abilities are powerful, and having them available and can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing a game. If your team is efficient enough, you should be able to determine the identity of the demon early and be prepared for the second phase of the game, which is the confrontation. Get the identity of the demon right, and you'll have the upper hand on the demon and start the confrontation with some control over the situation. Get it wrong, however, and you'll be starting at a disadvantage, and the demon may have you running for the exits within a few turns. In fact, most of the time when you get it wrong, one of the characters ends up dying first turn. Throughout the game, you'll also be dealing with a very important mechanic that will determine your ability to succeed, and that's sanity management. Each character begins a game with a predetermined amount of sanity that can be lost or regained through voluntary actions, events, items, and abilities. Let your sanity get too low, and you'll struggle as your character eventually goes into a mental breakdown, making it impossible to hide from the demon, while also increasing the amount of actions it takes to perform a simple investigation. There are ways to gain sanity back, but you have to weigh spending precious actions on gaining it back as opposed to progressing with the investigation. While your character will be struggling with in-game sanity, you'll be struggling with real-life sanity as you deal with limited inventory space, constantly racking your brain to decide what items to keep on you and what to throw on the ground for later. Do you want multiple weapons to defend against a mid-investigation assault from the demon, or do you prefer to carry items that will accelerate the investigation? Will you waste turns obsessively cycling through the scavenged item deck in order to find an old key to open a door? And when you finally open that door, will there be a demon artifact behind it that will either give you a really powerful advantage or put a target on your back when the demon manifests itself? And if you think you're clever enough to control all these variables, the game's fate system is likely to throw a wrench in even the most carefully laid plans. Determined by the card at the top of the event discard pile at any time, fate can either change nothing or everything. Numbered 1 to 5, fate can affect how your items function, trap you in certain areas of the map, and influence events in positive or negative ways. It can also cause the demon to be unpredictable in its actions during the confrontation phase and trigger scenario-specific events, like your character falling through a trapdoor into a creepy old man's basement. I'm looking at you, old man Dyer. While Fate's effects can be predicted and mitigated through abilities like the Spectre's premonition action, a little more on the Spectre in a minute, it will eventually catch you off guard in a way that either helps you out of an impossible situation, which is great, or it might shatter your hopes and dreams of a banishment victory altogether. That brings us to the victory conditions in Netherwatch. Victory is secured by performing a series of tasks during the confrontation phase that lead to banishing the demon. The Codex Daemonum, a physical book included in the game box, describes all the demon banishing rituals, allowing you to plan ahead, assuming you've identified the demon correctly. Succeed and you'll be rewarded with maximum service points that will lead to ranking up into the optional agent promotion system. That's the legacy system I was talking about earlier. And it gives you increasingly useful one-time abilities to be used in future plays. Get the identity wrong or take too much time and you'll be forced to start the escape sequence that will lead to either salvaging a fraction of the service points or, in a worst case scenario, losing your entire team and receiving no points at all. You may also have to wait a while to get revenge against the same demon, since they are randomly selected from identical card boxes during game setups. So out of the 12, you never know which one you're going to get. Now, given that this is an entirely cooperative game, it can cause issues in groups with highly competitive players that don't always agree with the same strategy. While the game does allow for each player to make their own independent decisions during the investigation phase, success during the confrontation phase requires serious coordination. Get your wires crossed during a round and the game can be over in a heartbeat. On the other hand, a team with players who work as a unit will likely find they are more successful in every aspect. It may even be necessary to sacrifice a character for the greater good sometimes, with that player then becoming a Spectre and continuing to play with a new set of actions that focuses on helping the players that are still living and harassing the demon at the same time. The The Spectre mechanic also means that no player is ever out of the game, and they'll remain invested in the gameplay even if their character dies early. It's worth noting that true solo players will benefit from being able to control a Spectre from the very beginning of the game, giving them much needed support for their lone wolf character. So now that we've covered the most important aspects of the game, we come down to the most important question. Who is this game right for? I feel like I've enjoyed this game so much up to now that I can't really give any reason why someone wouldn't enjoy this title outside of obvious reasons like not enjoying paranormal themes or wanting a competitive game instead of a cooperative one. Because yeah, that's a big one. Netherwatch's design is clever in that it gives you this false sense of security at first, but then slowly wears you down with the depletion of the event card deck, all the while distracting you with periodic jump scares while it takes away your freedom of choice. Gloomy yet very detailed locations on the map make you want to visit every area, and demons based on real-world folklore give you enough of the heebie-jeebies that you may hope that Netherwatch is planned for a game day instead of a game night. It really comes down to if you enjoy cooperative games or not, as there really is an emphasis on teamwork in this game, and those wanting to do their own thing apart from others will likely struggle and feel unrewarded if not frustrated by the end of the game. From another perspective, Netherwatch does play very well solo, whether true solo or multi-handed, so players that don't like cooperative games can still enjoy the full experience playing out their own strategy without having to compromise with other players at the table. For me, this is the paranormal theme game that I've been waiting for years because it combines deduction and puzzles with that constant sense of danger. The devs have done an amazing job with this title, and I honestly can't wait to see the final product. Based on the state of the prototype and everything that's been revealed so far, it's definitely a game that I'm looking forward to getting to the table for game nights or maybe just game days. So if you think you might be interested, I would definitely suggest heading over to their gamefound page because as of the posting of this video, it is still available for late pledge. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Netherwatch prototype, and I'll see you next time.